Okay.
Hi.
How bright is there?
I know, right? I don't have to wear my blue light blockers yet.
It is.
Still too early.
I don't know what happened in the shift of energy in the world, but I just got a text from him and then a personal text. And Amber says she just texted me 1 minute ago is not coming. Carrie just texted me 5 minutes ago is not coming.
Okay.
Brandon's out.
Looks like it's just you and me.
Something shifted. Something in the, I don't know if the moon just fell out of the sky or what happened here.
Right. Maybe it was the full moon last night.
I guess.
It
went from, I had more text today via Instagram on my phone about tonight's meeting than I've ever had in any week. And I all day long. And then just now, literally in the past 9 minutes, I was setting up. I just got messages from everybody like, I'm not coming, can't make it. Sorry to it. I'm like, what just happened?
was like a bunch of bad vibes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And he was just texting me literally minutes before he sent that group one about the two people that are showing up tonight. Give me a background on them and can't wait to support them and surround them with love. I'm like, okay.
I don't know. I
I
can't handle it. I just can't.
I'm
Gotta stay out.
not sure what shifted, but I hope everything's all right.
Maybe they know something we don't know.
Yeah, maybe everybody got tickets to some huge concert. They didn't invite us.
Oh, Jesus.
I
don't know. I guess at the end of the day, all we can do is just us. Just be you.
Right. So we'll just get started anyway. I don't know. I actually think Christine's gonna join us, but we'll get started anyway because this is oh yeah, already minutes in. It's how long as we've taken to get, yeah. So the topic of motivating unmotivated people.
Right.
Seemed like a very good time in the landscape of the world to speak on this, considering what we've been going through, the world's been going through. I always say we, but I really mean the whole world, because I don't feel like I'm going through the same thing as everybody else is going through, but
right.
I mean, the sense of, like, I think the environment around us has created a little bit of things like depression, anxiety, and uncertainty, and lack of motivation, and what's next, and jobs, and blah blah blah. I mean, all the things that come with it. It's really like piling on at this moment. It feels like, just like talking to other people. It really feels like people are getting very impacted by, I can't get motivated to do anything. There's nothing to do. I can't go through another lockdown. Like, it's just being piled on. And so last week I started doing some, actually digging through my own stuff, my own files, my own records of stuff, that books I read and things I've learned. And because it seemed like I had done something on this before, and I did. I actually pulled up a presentation I did, and it was on motivation and the cueing of it, right? And went back to habits and all that stuff. And again, funny that, in like Chad's last session, he was talking about a book that I read when it first came out, and I actually just read it again yesterday. Well, I listened to it yesterday. Was the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. I mean, it's a great book, but to the point of that book, it's funny that like all the things that are in that book, if you don't implement things like the book is saying, like habits, I read it again. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like, it's easy to read something. It's easy to listen to something. It's easy to take advice, give advice. So it's easy to take a course and learn something, become an expert in it, or pretend like you're an expert in it. But without application or queuing or environmental design change, what really is it? It's just really, we're taking in information. Great. They say if you read, you try to read, the more books you read, the more you read, the more knowledgeable you are and more successful you are. But they always leave out the part about you can read a book, you can listen to a book, and really be no better off, or really know more than the next person if you haven't applied any of the information in your brain or used them in real life situation or apply them to your life or anything really. So I don't know if you know, you've read the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of stuff there about creating habits and how to actually create them. Not like, oh, habits are good for success, but how to create, right? Like the tools to change it. They talk about habit stacking and all that stuff, right? But I thought one more part of that book to me was more interesting, probably just because my analytical mind was the study he did with another professor girl about the environmental, right? So like motivation is overrated, but the environment is really often what matters the most. And I think that comes back to like you hear friends or family or anybody like, well, especially here, like small town mentalities, people will say, it's this town, I can't get out of here. Well, I gotta move, I can't do anything here, there's no opportunity, right? And that's just like cop out, right? It's like I don't want to do anything to change my life. But in the terms of using that loosely, is it's not environmental change like I need to move from Binghamton. It's environmental, meaning your kitchen. You can rearrange your kitchen, right? The design of the flow in your house. Where do you go first?
Right.
Where is your
Right.
bedroom? Which way
How
is
are you?
the couch facing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you every day?
Like what's available to you? Like,
Yeah.
your fridge full of soda? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you drink soda.
Yeah.
It's the easiest hanging fruit. So I mean, you're doing it physically, right? Like, and I wanted to use you as an example tonight with everybody, but they're gonna listen to this anyway. So you're doing an example of physical environmental design, which means you've done the work already, mentally in your own space. And then you said, well, on top of it, I want to take a physical environmental change and see what that is and does, right?
Right.
So when you're about to implement something and apply it, it really depends on the intention that you're doing it, right? Like a vacation, usually people is like, I need to go on vacation. I can't wait to go. It's gonna change. Like, I need this, man. And they go and really don't do much growth. It's like, I just
Right.
don't work. I get a little drunk. I do things I can't do. I come home, not really recharged. I'm actually drained.
Right.
So I always think of things like that, like, oh, read a book. Great. But what did you do about it? You took time off, but what did you do on the time off? You just took a vacation? Or lazy, got drunk, partied? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Because if you return the same way, then you are, again, the environment hasn't changed. You changed the viewing environment.
Right. Right.
You didn't change the physical maze that you create in your mind to like, I'm going to wake up and I usually look at my phone. Well, let's put my phone in the next room instead of normal alarm. So at least I have to get up out of my bed, change something a little bit to go get my phone before it starts where I'm just like,
Right.
on my back with my phone in my hand. So I thought that part, that book has always been interesting to me because I'm stuck more on the tangible things, right? But when they talk about habit stacking, like I was hoping that Matt actually showed up and his two friends because he had shared some information about them with me prior, and I was hoping that we'd have a good discussion on it because though I do believe in disease, anxieties, depressions, just disease in general, I do believe in these things, but I also truly believe in where they come from, right? And how you can accept them and beat them.
Right.
That's the power, right? I think you know that. I mean, you've been in the middle of it on both sides. So I think what's interesting about the habit stacking building is there really is tools right in front of us every day. It's like if I take these things that I have and I take these things that I start moving around and I witness my life in the same house, I don't have to move to North Carolina. Like, because what's going to happen when we move to North Carolina, what are we going to do? We're going to move into a house and set it up exactly the same.
Exactly.
We want to see the
You
world.
have to change who you are first.
Yes. Right. So if Portia went on this vacation 11 years ago, what would it look like? It might not
Right.
be the house you rented. It might not be like what you planned. And then she goes now, and you put those side by side. Like, what is the environment design? It's
Right.
completely changed. It's
Well, even my mindset mine would have been totally different.
right.
I don't think I would have even been able to push myself to go and do that because I was living in, more of a fear mindset.
Yeah, 100%.
Even growing up, I always had like a fear mindset, it's just how I was,
Yeah, I think
prior
we get
to 18.
taught that, right?
Yeah, I
I think we
think
get,
so.
I
Because
think
I
we get
saw
taught.
my mom that way, you know what I mean? And like she
Yeah,
would agree or so I think, okay, well, maybe I should worry about that too, or worry about the outcome of what could potentially go wrong instead of thinking what could go right.
yeah, totally agreed. I mean, part of that too is the habits from the people that put us here.
Right.
So when our parents only do as much as they possibly can or think they were possibly can be doing,
Right.
no fault to them is left us in a position of we've been born into habit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always say I had a friend one time that always was like, why is this, why is John's kids like superstars? They're so well behaved and they're so good. Also, it's like, dude, just look at how John and his wife are.
Right.
Watch them. Watch how they are, not just with the kids, but what the kids are witnessing. They're very structured, habit-driven people and goal-oriented, design, successful people. They're both of them. Well, what do you think their kids are going to be watching? That's how they navigate it. It's not like you have to sit down with your kid and be like, hey, be good.
Right. Right. They
Just
don't know it.
they're doing it and the kids are following the lead, right? So
It's lifestyle that they're leading.
heck yeah. So it's like we always talk about modeling and doing this group so that we can help each other and others. And obviously that's key because it's not about just changing your environment to help yourself, but it's everybody's watching you too. We don't need to have 10,000 people watching us in a crowd or millions of people's watch us on a movie screen. We can be
Right.
everyday people that 50 people we might interact with a day or 20 people in a day, but that's just as important. I mean, if you see those people every day at work, if you see those people every day at your house or wherever it is, it's just like children there. The weaker are looking at the strong or vice versa. I mean, it's affecting us. So I there's this one passage I want to share with you. So it's talking about Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Les Brown. Right? So I've literally listened to Les Brown as long as I can remember. I mean, he's been around for so long, and I've listened to if there's an audio file or a video file that I have not listened to, I'd be shocked. But I'm always searching for it because I think he's an incredible human being from what he's gone through to what he created. He wasn't out to be a public speaker. He created this environment and life for himself. And by example, right? He was an example of it. He wasn't one day I'm going to go to get certified and be a mechanic. I'll be a mechanic. No, he was born for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like he went through the experience that pushed his drive. And he spoke on this thing one time about motivation and unmotivated people. And he talked about, so he's giving information that only impact two parts of the brain. So if you can change people, everyone will be shiny, happy, healthy people. Like everybody will just be great, right? Like when you're giving just information, you're only impacting two parts of the brain. And he talks about he tries to impact 5 parts of the brain, so that they know what he's saying, where it came from, meaning his story, right?
Right.
And what to do about it. So then it impacts beyond the information, the story that's connected to it. And he has that story, right? Like he's gone through all that stuff with his parents. And, the education system, most of it, the teaching system, education system, the college, high schools, all this really like kind of connected with the Carnegie theory of, when you tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Like that's the teaching philosophy that came from Carnegie School of College, like, of like how teachers teach today. It's like you tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. And he talks about, this goes back to the habits of it's not that binary. It's people connect to where it's coming from and why it's coming from, not just information.
Right.
Like, what is the way? Okay, here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I don't have any connection. What do I have connection to Portia? Like, why? It's boring. Okay, 3 steps. Okay, great. I'll do them, and then I'm not gonna do it. But if you tell me why you did them, what brought you there? What brought you to those steps? Right. So I thought that was a great take on him. And I think he, which I don't know if you read this is an older book, but I forget the guy's name already. Mike Williams. The Road to Your Best Stuff was the book. He refers to it a lot in his speaking. It's one of his mentors. And you never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience wants to hear. He always talked about, don't have your own personal agenda.
Right.
You want to say, but understand who you're talking to and what they want or need to hear. So there's some relatability to the information you're sharing, even if it's your information that they don't know. So I thought that was interesting take on it. 1, 2, he was speaking on the fact, can you actually motivate an unmotivated person? And he's like, his answer was yes, if you do it the right way. There's not unmotivated people. He believes that everybody day they were born have a built-in greatness that needs to be ignited, that needs to be turned on. So we just spoke like, well, if our parents had shitty habits and we were born into it, we're already kind of behind the 8 ball. But it doesn't mean you weren't born with the same greatness that John and Lizzie's kids were, just because they came out witnessing quicker. It's just, what are we going to do about it, right? So again, fast forward, what are you going to do about it? Different mindset. Portia going to sit on 11 years ago than she would go now. Completely different experience.
Right.
So we all have the built-in greatness. So when I say that I believe in the things that people are going through, the diseases and the things and the anxieties and depressions and the fear and I believe that that's a real emotion and real thing that's happening to their body. But I also believe the way it's happening, it could unhappen. right? And I think we have full control of that. It's just, what are we doing? What tools are we using? What are we really doing? 20 minutes of your day, you do something 20 minutes a day, spend 20 minutes, doesn't mean in a row. I think 20 minutes is a year of your life.
Yeah.
A year of your life. 1 year gone. So if you're scrolling through Instagram for 20 minutes a day, if it's here, there, it's a year gone.
Even I feel like even if you're taking in information off of Instagram, like, or whatever social media, you could get lost in that. But then I think then it still becomes like how much of that information in that 1 hour that you just spent do you ever even use? You know what I mean? Yes, it sounded good in the moment when you read it, but then it goes in and then it goes out because it's not
The next thing,
not obtainable, because then you're so distracted by the next thing.
right?
I mean, I'm guilty of that myself.
Well, you're not compounding. You've seen something on Instagram or you scroll on Facebook, you've seen something that you like, it hit you pretty hard. You're like, that's
absolutely.
funny.
Absolutely.
It's hilarious. I gotta tell that joke again. Or wow, it's profound.
Or like hits you in your heart or something.
And then you forgot about it completely.
Yeah.
You have no idea. But it's because there's no compounding.
Well, right.
That's what Les Brown talking about.
It's so distracting too, because you can go from one subject to a different subject.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're just,
it's not on the same line at all.
Yeah. So like you could be about like the mind in one, and then the next thing is like, something about, relationship, or, something that has irrelevant to even what you are trying to figure out, or think taking in good information. Like, oh, I spent an hour, like, I only follow good people, I only follow the good stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Another book I read, this guy was talking about, he was talking about perspective of how we see urgency in the world. So, what are we motivated by? Or how do we get sparks of motivation? Or why are we unmotivated? Why are some people unmotivated? Why? And
that was the question. Why are we unmotivated in the first place?
Right. And that's really the stem of it, right? Because some people even say like there is no motivation. It's
root cause.
Lack of, right? Like, so people mistakenly believe they lack motivation, but in reality, it's clarity they lack. They're not clear about the path they need to go in to get to the thing they want, right? So it's not even like an unmotivation. It's not like, oh, well, Portia just is always motivated to do it, and I'm not. It's like, no, there's a clear path of doing it.
Yeah, but then that's right there. That's a belief in itself. You comparing yourself to someone else, and that's a belief in yourself, because you're saying right there, I'm not good enough, or I'm not equal to Portia, when really in reality you wanted to be.
Right, and that's the thing. It's measured in so many different levels, and we are victims of comparison.
Well, right. Or we choose to be, and I think like sometimes we can get unmotivated because we live in that pessimistic view, or like the self-efficacy. You know what I mean? And basically that is what your beliefs are, what your mind revolves around. Or like we forget, like, what are the benefits and rewards? We know that we have to work hard we're always going to have to work hard to achieve things. Even if we are talented or however, like, it's still going to be hard work. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes people, they forget to think of like the long-term rewards and benefits, and they're just thinking of that short term, what can I gain really quickly, when really I think life is like a long game.
Yeah, 100%. And that's true. I do believe we make it hard, meaning
we get in our own.
Yeah, all good things are hard, right? Like anything you want big is going to be hard, meaning it takes more work, is usually what I say. But I think the only time something's hard is when you make it hard, like, oh, I have to do this, or it's like owning a house. Oh my God.
Yeah, but like saying that, like right there, like just the way you said it, like brings like
Right.
that negative feeling into your body. Like even just like we weren't even doing anything. We had nothing set, but just the way you said it was like you could feel that it was like the negativity of it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
So
I
I think
think
when people say hard, 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 I think it doesn't come from
well, that's just the
four
belief
people in a
again.
room. Yeah, four people in a room.
Right.
All of you are gonna be given a house, but we have to take all your money you have. We're gonna leave you just enough to build, to live in it, okay?
Right.
Go. Well, depending on the person that's doing it and how they see what's happening, the opportunity in front of them or not, or how they
Right.
actually see what's happening is gonna be, oh, dude, this is too much. It's like such hard work. And then the other person is gonna be like, well, it's super hard, but like I really like this house. No, so I have to do it. And the other person's gonna be like, dude, it's hard work, but like it's well worth this hard. I love this place. And then the
Yeah.
last person's like, this is the
It's all
easiest thing I've ever done. I love this. This is I
it's
wake up for it.
well,
Love
everything in
building
life
this studio.
is down to your perspective.
Right.
And if one thing I learned over my whole life, it's how you see the situation that's in front of you. Like, for example, when I was flying last week, I had a delay of 8 hours, right? And unexpected.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could have sat there and been like that person that was like, this is, you know, blah, 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 horrible, this, that, and the other thing. And, I could have been the person that was yelling at Delta, like,
Yep.
what is wrong with you people? Or, I mean, and there were people that were like that. Or I could have just accepted it, like we were alive, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So we just got like off course for that amount of time. And you just had to take it in for what it was for that moment in time. And I guess you think about, okay, you'd rather get there safely than not.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote down one of the analogies this guy used, and it because it kind of strikes a chord for me. So he was using an analogy of how we look at the urgency of time and things and the importance. And he was asking the colleague, do you have, are both your parents still alive? And he's like, yes. He's like, well, how old are they? And I don't know, he said something in the 70s or something. So he goes, oh, great, that's awesome. So how often do you see him? And he's like, probably twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, because they live on the other sides of the country.
Right.
And he says, all right, well, so you probably have, let's say like conservative, you have 5-6 years left with your parents. They're getting up there, like in their 80, you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah. He's like, so you have 5 years left with them. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't see it that way. He says, you have 10 visits with them. You have 10 more visits.
Yeah, there you go. Perspective.
We're so used to thinking ahead and saying it's all going to be great, everything's fine, because it is fine in the moment. He says, once we start to think backwards, it creates an insane urgency on what's truly important. So think in the backwards term, like, do you have 5 years with them? No, you have 10
No.
times. And
10 physical. Yeah.
10 moments with them left. That
Yeah.
How long are those moments? Do you stay
Right.
for days at a time, or do you go for
Yeah.
dinner? Or
Yeah, exactly.
so I thought, like, wow, it's like what a perspective, because I thought I was that person when I left here for years. I only saw my mom 3 times in a year, probably max, for years when I left Carolina, Florida, here. And I was like begging her to move. When I finally got her moved, was because I wanted to spend more time with her. When she was there, it was right back to like, I was comfortable that she was there now, like in the area, but it kind of went back to, it didn't really up the game, right?
Right. You thought you still had time because she was closer.
Right. It made the presence of her being in proximity made my mind believe that, well, now it's all good. We have as much time as we need.
Yes.
And that like kind of blew my mind, because it relates to the unmotivated. Why are we unmotivated? The things that trigger us, triggers have to be hooked to habits. So the things that trigger us in both ways is, again, how do we set up our environment, our living situation? Where's our, what bed are we sleeping on? When we get up in the morning, our smokes are on the table, or,
Right,
um,
right,
so like habit stacking, like what am I gonna do after my coffee? But be precise and clear about it. So, am I gonna do those, like you talked about, I'm gonna do those 10 push-ups every day when lunch starts at work. Once lunch starts, I'm gonna do 10 push-ups.
right,
Figure out why after 3 days, you're not doing them anymore. Because it's not specific enough. The time and location of a habit is like the only thing that matters, right? So
right,
it's after lunch, once I turn off my computer, stop emails, I'm gonna do 10 push-ups on my phone next to me before I go eat. More clear, right? Clarity, direction,
right.
giving yourself the chance and opportunity for direction. I think that's the separation between what they call the motivated and unmotivated. I just think you're normal, you're just a person, or you're unmotivated. I don't think it's you have like this gap in delta, like me and you are more motivated, higher
Right.
than the
And
unmotivated.
that way.
Right.
I think too, the small things that you do every day, that's like Chad spoke about yesterday, like the habits, but everything you do every day, those small things do add up. And when we realize the importance of the mini habits,
Yes.
like you said, like, okay, well, yeah, what does your everyday look like? What does your kitchen look like? How does your life flow around that? Because then when you have all of this extra noise and clutter that is all around you in your environment, you're never going to be able to get focused to be in your highest self. You know what I'm saying? Or to even you're going to wake up every single day in stress because you don't have that flow.
Right. And that is like, look, institutions implement a lot of this science. Like when you're a sickness or something, you go to it and they take all the stuff out of your life that's supposed to influence you. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I think it's too brash, too much, because it's
Yeah.
not your choice, right? It's not
Right.
somebody's choice. Most of the time they get sent there and it's like, just take away. It's like ripping off the thing and too
Yeah.
bad. Deal with it.
Yeah. That's like
So,
too drastic.
yeah, because
But
you're not actually learning because you didn't choose it. So
right.
you're not even seeing the success of your own choice, which I think is the key of motivation. I think, or getting out of the unmotivated state and getting to the neutral state, I call it. Like if we can all stay
Mhm.
in neutral, it's not great to have too highs of highs either.
Right, exactly. And be too so
Crap.
anal that like if you miss a workout, like you are depressed or something, like
Yeah,
that's actually causing you like to be demotivated because
right,
it's too much control.
right. If you have
Which,
two highs of highs and then your expectation gets missed one day, you can have a crash off a mountain. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I think the unmotivated or the low, sometimes when you feel so low or unmotivated, you feel like when you're witnessing everybody else that they're always up there.
right, right.
You're just like, they're always up there. There's
Yeah.
no way they're not, right?
You're totally right. Like you need to be neutral. Like you could wake up tomorrow and if you didn't do any of those habits, you were still living in joy.
Exactly.
You're still living in bliss and you enjoyed the day, even if you didn't do your meditation or your 10 push-ups or whatever it is that you think is running you. Really, I think it shouldn't have anything that is like controlling your life so much or controlling that level of joy or happiness. It should just be like it should just be there anyway.
Right. And I think the closer we can get to narrowing the gap between what we believe people are living at and what we're
Right,
feeling, and we can
right,
narrow that and understand that it's actually only this much difference between feeling really bad and feeling really good. Should
well,
only
right,
be that. It shouldn't be a roller coaster of I feel bad or I'm unmotivated or I don't know what to do or I'm feeling a little bit down. Everybody else is up here. And that's not actually true. There's a
right,
smaller gap between the two.
right. And like when we grow in our strengths and we don't want to be intimidated by the strengths of others, right? Because everyone's going to have their own strengths where they're stronger in one thing than another. But I think when we don't compare ourselves or put anything like saying like, okay, yes, that person, you look on a curated Instagram feed, right? Chances are you're only seeing someone's highlights, and
Of course.
you're not seeing like, yeah, they miss a day, they go out and they probably got drunk one night. Who the hell knows? You know what I'm saying? Like they're trust me, they're out there. Like,
Yeah.
just because they're putting it out there does not mean that they're living an authentic life, you know? And I think that when you can just focus on your strengths and you keep growing in that, it's when you believe in yourself and the skills and talents that you have.
Yeah. You're dying, huh? You all right? You gonna be okay?
Yep.
So when Mike Williams, author I told you about, was talking about, like, I think this group has always helped us understand this about all of each other. I think when we started, it was me talking and everybody listening, and then it was like, okay, good night. But now everybody really engages and is involved, and is always talking in the group and sharing. And I think what we've done well in this group, but we have to do more with the people around us, is we have to find out what our audience, meaning anybody, our friends, our family, whoever's around us, our audience, we have to find out what their wants, needs, their interests, and learn how to speak on those sensibilities. So we have deeper connections with these people. We can understand what's going on in them and also what's going on with you, so that you can be a better witness to their life. And I think majority of the time we do this surface level stuff, right? Like you just spoke on, like we do
Right.
the surface level. Hey man, you okay? Or hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And then that's it. Move on to the next thing. You text your buddy. Hey, you
You know,
good? Yeah.
you know what I think, that you should not have just a goal mindset, but the growth mindset, right? Because a goal has a finish line and a growth is never ending. So if you choose that, I think that's where like the magic of life happens, when you choose to keep growing and showing up, and when it gets uncomfortable, right? And I think the other thing about unmotivation, like being unmotivated, that you always tell yourself like, oh, well, I'm not ready. But ready is a lie, right? Because you could tell yourself for the rest of your life you'll never be ready. So it's like, that's when you take the risks to do it.
Yeah.
That's seizing the opportunities, right? So many people are always like, oh, that person is so lucky. They're so lucky. But no, nobody is. I don't think anybody is lucky. A lot of times we end up holding ourselves back from the opportunities that are giving us a chance to grow. And I think that when we do, like, we learn to take the risk and step out, and then that's when the opportunities are always there if we choose to see them.
And do something. We talked about the habits, like implementing something about it. So if you have been, this whole month, I've been, COVID's here. I've been sleeping on the couch, so I've been just watch TV. Two things. It's drastic, but take your couch out of your house. Disconnect the cable. I mean, there's many things that you can actually change your environmental design of where you are, not move, but like where you are. And it forces changed habits upon without even wanting to, right? So
I can't do this.
you okay? Did you take some magic mushrooms in Sedona?
Yeah.
No?
Once I start, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
I mean, that's a good problem to have.
No judgment, but thank God Amber's not here.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. You laugh, you start laughing, you can't stop.
I just can't help it.
But I mean, in terms of it all, like what it really comes down to, the point of the meeting tonight really was, I don't think there is unmotivated in the sense we think about it, or motivated. I don't think there is, well, somebody has it better off than me, that they're more motivated than I am, that's why I can't get it done. It's like, I don't believe that that's the case. I think the perception of the difference is more of the problem than the actual difference, meaning that it's not you're unmotivated, it's what is your environment creating for you, and what does your mind keep telling you every day when you wake up.
Right. I think a lot of people are distracted.
Yeah.
Just everybody. And that I think to know yourself is to be known, right? Most people don't know who they are.
Yeah, 100%. But as God is a witness, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, the only person that you can believe in, trust, and count on is him, and he knows you better than you know you.
Right.
Nothing
And you're
trust in that.
trusting yourself.
100%. You gotta have trust in that thought alone.
But I think a lot of people don't believe or trust in themselves.
Yeah.
That's more like, that's another self-love practice that people like to avoid, because again, what we always talk about, taking the risks, going into the unknown, stepping out, it's scary. It's there's so many things that could go wrong, but there's so many things that could go right.
Heck yeah, the ultimate equalizer between us all, between anybody, rich, poor, famous, bum,
Right.
down your chips, nothing. The ultimate equalizer is that we both, all of us, wake up every day with the same two things. And that
Right.
is, every day you're gonna wake up with a chance, if you wake up, and a choice.
Right.
And that's it. Everybody
And
gets that.
do it. It's what you do.
You, me, everybody.
Doesn't matter what you have or don't have. You still have an opportunity right in front of you every single day to make good of that day.
Heck yeah.
It doesn't cost any money to live in joy.
That's true.
Right? Like everybody always goes back to like, okay, that's always, but it doesn't cost any money to be kind, spread love.
It's 100% true.
And like, okay, those are like just the basic things. Yeah, but you still, doesn't cost any money to grow. Okay, yes, you can do a lot of physical things, books and online. Look at all the free information.
Well, again, I think that's the comparison, right? We believe that if I were to say to somebody, hey, it doesn't cost anything to be happy or to live or anything, and the response is, well, I have to pay rent, I have to pay for my phone, it becomes the mindset of, yeah,
Mindset and perspective.
mindset and perspective, and then relativity. Well, doesn't everybody else? And or why does it, what really matters to you? Do you need the place? Do you need the house you're living in? Can you downsize?
That's true too. I think even when people, I think their priorities are screwed up because they don't put the house first. They put everything that I want to do and play first. They don't budget it right. Even the people who even might have enough money, they still don't do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, but when you start to do that, it pulls you away further from the growth of who you're supposed to be, because it just adds more stress to your life and your mind.
Yeah, I had an employee for me one time that he was great at this. He would at the same instance of him asking me for a pay advance to pay because he couldn't pay his rent, he'd be scheduling a new tattoo appointment for a $900 tattoo on his arm.
The priorities. So I mean,
right.
We see that mindset. I mean, that's the American mindset. Like it's everywhere. And it's even with people that we see that we think that do have a great financial security. You'd be surprised how many don't, because they are living beyond their means.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, like you always say, and we talk about on this all the time, is financial really has zero to do with happiness. It's in your head. It
doesn't with your character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
who you
how
are.
many. Yeah, exactly. And yes, does it enhance your life so that I think when good people make good money, they can do good things. But is that always the case? No, that's not always the case. And I don't think that just because you make good money doesn't make you an asshole either. You know what I'm saying? There's always that stigma where like, that person's a jerk because they do make good money, and I don't think that's true either. I think again, it's all perspective, and those are beliefs that are thrown upon people. They heard that from their parents or their, grandparents or however. And again, what we see, like only believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear.
Agreed.
And even we even know there's always been studies done. There are plenty of people who, I think Ed Milet did a study on this, like the 10 wealthiest people And like, the guy was like, oh, he says everything. And they're like, are you happy? And he's like, no, I'll be happy when I get, this jet or this boat or this yacht and totally he was missing the whole point of those people again. So somebody that's making like $30,000 a year is looking at that person and they're like, they have the life. And this guy is sitting at his house with all of these things and he's not happy at all.
Yeah, we're looking at,
I mean,
the funny thing is everybody's looking at each other.
right.
We're supposed to be looking up, but everybody's looking at each other. It's all perspective.
Yes, exactly.
When I stripped away a lot of my life, I became a lot happier. I mean, it was the opposite because I chased happiness through building life, building things and priorities. And
Right. Well, I think for myself, it was the same way. I literally, all materialistic items I left behind.
Yeah.
Because it was like too much noise at the time. It was like, I didn't even know what to do. Like I didn't even need the stuff. I literally left most everything, like a house behind, and I didn't need any of it.
Yeah, you only feel like you need it when you're in it. And then when you don't have it, you go, that's weird.
Right. And then it was like over time, it didn't matter anymore because again, like we said, don't ever have an attachment, right? And then you realize what's really important.
I know.
Not saying that it's not okay to have goals, because I totally, I would be lying if I didn't say that I had goals or don't like to, live a certain lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? And have a goal to live that way. But at the end of the day, like, when is enough enough? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, again, intention, right? We talked about intention. Why are you doing those things? If you're building and you want to live in a huge house and awesome cars and all these fans, great. If the intention
satisfaction, yeah,
it's not empty and it's not unsought for, if it has some intention to it, great.
Right.
I love that for people. Some people are healthy in that way, but a lot of times it's used as a weapon.
Well, it's used because they're trying to fulfill a void that they don't even know why it's there, and they don't ever get to the reason of why it's there.
Right.
I
think all the point is like, it's our total message. When we're done with this one day, it's like all these things we've done. I think it all comes down to this same messaging, different topics, but what is the literal potential of a human? I think that's what everything we ever talk about comes down to. How can we tap into our biggest potential, because we all have the capability of doing it, and how can we lessen or get away from the ideas of unmotivated or depressed or nervous or fear or anxiety or all these things.
It all is
pushing the gap. Yeah. How can we bring those back up to neutral?
Yeah.
So they don't feel like they're so far away.
So everybody would step out and they would continue to keep growing themselves. It all comes back to the mindset. So it would be interesting if like somebody had a child, right? And they controlled the situation of like what the child believed and like was surrounded of like the environment that they grew up in, the parents that parented them.
We can look that up. People have already done that.
Right.
Unfortunately.
You see later on, like, okay, how are they? Do they still end up picking up, obviously, because you can't isolate them, but I think they might even still, because that's just how the brain is wired. Would they want to rebel then?
Right.
And like, they wouldn't want to be like this yogi, child that grew up like that. Would they want to like rebel then and then be like on the other end of the spectrum and be like, I'm going to go be like, something I saw on television.
Correct. I think one, I'm going to put in I'll put in the recording and the link. I'm going to put in a couple different messages this week. I sent the one with Rich to you guys, but you obviously watched Chad's last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the title of the book so everybody can read that in there too. Cause
yeah, You
I've
know,
read a couple of habit books I have really good in my library, but that one to me is very scientific application. Do this,
yeah,
this, it'll help you, instead of just giving you information on what habits.
another good book is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I saw that. I have that on my list in Audible.
It's a thick book, but it's good. It has things in there that, depending on where you want to go, can help you.
Well, good news is booked my ticket. I'll be there next weekend.
Okay,
Mhm.
sounds good.
All right. Well, is it light out? Is it dark out now?
It is.
Oh yeah, just literally watch the sunset during our
Yeah,
call in your back window.
yeah,
All right. Well, appreciate you. We'll catch
yeah.
up next week. I'll give you a call.
All right,
Thanks for joining us. I'll send you the recording too.
all right.
Have a wonderful night.
Love you guys.